Hello viewers, welcome to our channel. This is Nelly's TV, where we bring you real enlightenment through authentic news analysis. In today's video, we will be looking at how Nigeria was sold and bought. You know, many people say that Nigeria is a property of Britain, but it's even more than that. We're going to be seeing it in this broadcast. Let's go to the news. If you look at the screen, you will see the caption, "Who sold Nigeria to the British for £865,000 in 1899?" And it was published by this newspaper company called The Guardian Life. Okay, so it is authentic, as you can see. All right, so how did it all start? It all started in the 19th century, in 1884, when a number of European countries gathered in Berlin, Germany, in a conference that is popularly known as the Berlin Conference. And there they sat, and many of them who sat in that conference had never stepped their feet on the soil of Africa. But they sat down there and divided Africa among themselves for their business convenience. Let's see what happened there. Look at this. The most significant outcome of the 1884 Berlin Conference was the establishment of rules for the colonization and partitioning of Africa among European powers. Partitioning, look at that. They partitioned Africa from what it was originally to what they wanted, just for their business convenience. And what did they result in? I will show you one of the things it resulted in. For instance, look at this map. This is a map of Africa, and this is precisely the western part of Africa. That is West Africa. Look at this. This is Senegal. Look at my mouse. That is Senegal, okay? It was formerly known as Senegambia, and this territory was colonized by France, all right? But because Britain needed something out of it, because Britain was a giant and was, trampling down on anybody they wanted to get what they wanted. So they asked France to give them part of it. Look at Gambia here, like a pencil inside Senegal. All right. So these are the same people, but this side called Senegal speaks French, and this part called Gambia speaks English. So people in Gambia now see their brothers in maybe Kaulak or Ziguinchor as foreigners. That is divide and rule tactics. This is one of the things it cost. And there are many more. All right, so what happened next? After partitioning Africa, they then started moving. And a man called George Goldie landed somewhere in the area now known as the southern part of Nigeria. That was in 1879. Here, you can see it here. And he formed a company called United African Company, UAC. What was this UAC doing? UAC came there and began to dictate for the people of that region how to do their oil business. An oil business they were doing before these guys came into their territory. These are their oil palm trees. They have oil farms, oil palm tree farms, okay? And they were doing their businesses before these guys invaded their community and began to exert a very dangerous monopoly against these people. So as a result, they could not harvest their palm produce, they could not sell their palm produce anymore, they could not choose their trade partners anymore. This company began to dictate that for them. And how were they able to do that? They did it at gunpoint. So anybody who wanted to resist them was dealt with, if not unalived. So, in the process, a number of chiefs resisted this company. This man you see here is the man called George Goldie. He was a very wicked man, very wicked. But some chiefs decided to resist them. Okay. Now, this company, before they began to receive their resistance, they tried to change their name a number of times. They went from United African Company to the National African Company. From there, they changed to Royal Niger Company, and which survived eventually as Unilever. Many of you know Unilever, right? They were once in Nigeria, but they have left. So the first man who challenged them was called King Jaja. You can see it here. King Jaja of Opobo. King Jaja, the monopoly didn't go down well with him because he was an annoying businessman before even these people arrived in their territory. And so he said, no, we can't continue like this. We cannot continue. We have to do our business. And what happened to that? They got King Jaja and dealt with him seriously, and the man ran away. So at some point he said, okay, come, let's negotiate. And the man came. They gave him a condition that he didn't like, and he rejected it. What happened next? They poisoned him with a cup of tea. So this thing you see these wicked people do today in Africa didn't start today. Whoever wants to rise up and do the right thing for his people, they show him the way to the grave. And that is evil, very high level evil. And these are the same people who come back to us to define terrorism to us and define terrorists to us. But what they did in our communities was pure terrorism. They did these things at gunpoint on oil palm trees that are not their own. Look at Britain, very far away. They came to people's territory and began to control their resources. That is stealing, that is evil, that is bad. So this was what they were doing. And after King Jaja came another king called King Koko Mingi VIII. King Koko even went a step further and said, this is arrant nonsense. And he took men and went after them and dealt with them, took some of them captive. His aim was to negotiate a good terms and conditions for their businesses that they were into before these people invaded their community. And they refused to listen to him. They refused to negotiate with him. All right. And what else did they do? They decided to attack his community. And the news has it that Coco actually, dealt with them. They also dealt with Coco. And look at what happened here. The news says that King Coco captured 60 white men as hostages, as well as a lot of goods, ammunition, and a Mazin gun. Coco then attempted to negotiate a release of the hostages in exchange for being allowed to choose their trade partners. So they were not even allowed to choose their trade partners. That was evil. So the British refused to negotiate with Coco and he had 40 of the hostages unalived. All right. Now, you see this thing that BBC and other Western media do today, which is manipulation, which is, what do they call it? Propaganda. It didn't start today. It started a very long time ago. Look at that. The British, no, a British report claimed that the Nembe people ate them. That is the people that Coco unalived, that Nembe people ate them. At what point did Nembe people start eating human beings? This is the lie they tell you from the pit of hell. Men and brethren, it is evil. They started it a very long time ago. Okay? And why did they tell these lies? This lie against them? I will tell you. It is to give them the reason to invade that community and destroy it. And that was exactly what they did. On 20th February 1895, Britain's Royal Navy under Admiral Bedford attacked Brass and burned it to the ground. Many Nembe people died and smallpox finished off a lot of others. That was it. So eventually what happened, because of the stringent measure they placed on Cocoa and even declared him wanted. They declared him wanted and outlawed him and offered a reward of £200. It was big money then for anybody who would help them catch Cocoa. Because of that, Cocoa took his life in 1898. But I would like to show you something to prove to you that this divide and rule tactics we see in Nigeria today didn't start today. It was Britain that started it and taught Nigeria the tactics. You see, when Koko wanted to go into this fight against these people, he sought alliance with Bonny and Ukpoma against the Royal Niger Company to take back their trade, to take back what belongs to them. Oh. But what happened? These British people went and told them, hey, look, don't follow this guy. He's a rebel. He's a terrorist. He will mislead you and all that and all that. And what happened at last? While Okpoma joined Koko up, Bonny refused to join him. And this is divide and rule tactics. That's what is still happening in our society today. They will come and tell our brothers at the riverine area, hey, look, you are, what do they call themselves? Niger Delta, you are South. Hey, don't accept these other people from the hinterland. You are not the same people. But you answer the same name, you speak the same language, you look alike, your culture is the same. But a white man came from many thousand kilometers away to tell you that you are not the same with this person. It didn't start today. It started a very long time ago. And if you are still saying this thing and believing all this trash, you are under manipulation. And I pity you. It is why we are here, to set the records straight and deliver people like you from this slavery and colonial mentality that has eaten deep into the fabrics of some of us. It is a pity. This is a divide and rule tactics. And what happened next? This evil continued, and the Oba of Benin was another man that challenged them. And what did they do? He was run out of town. So anybody who dared challenge them, they made him to go on exile by force, because if you remain in that society, in that environment, they are going to unalive you. That was the evil that happened. And now, what later happened? The immediate effect of the Brass Oil War was that public opinion in Britain turned against the Royal Niger Company. So it is supposed to be Royal Niger, not Royal Nigeria. So its charter was revoked in 1899. Following the revoking of its charter, the Royal Niger Company sold its holdings to the British government for £865,000. Men and brethren, does that ring a bell to you? Tell me, which other country in Nigeria, in the world, was bought this way? How can people come from wherever and come and buy a territory from a company and then begin, declare the ownership? This is unheard of. And this is the territory that people want to kill themselves to protect. Nigeria was not a country. They forced the northern and southern protectorates because of this business, so that this business will continue to flourish. And they had a plan, because they saw that the southern people were very intelligent. So they saw the northern people, mostly the Fulanis, as people who anything you tell them, they will take and do. And so they had to merge them and call it Nigeria. And their plan was, if at any point in time they decide to leave Nigeria, they will hand over the monopoly and the feudalism to Fulani and begin to rule. rule from outside, by proxy, rule the people who have the resources to keep that enclave called Nigeria. So, men and brethren, can you just answer this simple question to me? Is Nigeria a country? Is it a country? Can we reflect back to what people have said in different quarters? Well, Professor Shino Achebe said there was a country, but he was trying to be very mild about it. The truth is that there was never a country. What we have there is an enclave, which is just a business empire for Britain and some other European countries. Today, Nigeria is being ruled by companies like Shell, Mobil, Chevron, Total, and the rest of them. And the countries that own these companies are the ones deciding exactly what happens in Nigeria. And they include Britain, the Netherlands, France, and so on and so forth. Have you ever asked yourself why any presidential aspirant of Nigeria would go to Chatham House in London to campaign? To campaign to rule Nigeria, they will go to London. The people operating the Chatham House in London will ask them questions. Those questions they are asking them, do they have any inclination to the betterment of the life of the Nigerian citizens? The answer is no. Everything is geared towards the good of Britain. So when next you wake up and tell yourself, hey, I'm a Nigerian, just ask yourself, how did this country even come to be? Nigeria is a business enterprise of Britain, which Britain bought from a company called Royal Niger Company. So know the history behind your so-called country and make good use of it, all right? And stop being manipulated. The best thing you should do for yourself is to begin to seek your freedom, because so far Nigeria is not a free country. It is a business enclave. So I would like to know your thoughts about this. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? Put your points down in the comment section and make a good valid point. I have shown you evidence here. So show me evidence either to support or to counter. With that, we have come to the end of today's analysis. Thank you very much for listening and hope to see you in our next video. Bye.